So Marianne Williamson was on ABC, and I wanted to play a clip from that interview. It's too long for me to play the whole thing, and then give my opinion on the fact that she spoke so eloquently about income inequality.
So, what did you learn from that last run that you're going to do differently to try and sustain momentum this time around?
Well, you do learn a lot by being in the belly of that beast. You learn about what's necessary in order to wage a campaign that is a ship strong enough to take those turbulent seas. And I hope that I can do that. A lot of that will have to do with money. But a lot of it has to do with my own, the emotional antibodies you get after something like that. You're just not as worried if the haters get on Twitter, wherever they are, even if on the presidential White House press briefing podium. You become wiser with anything you do, and you feel like the next time out you'll be able to handle the situation more powerfully.
Since you mentioned it, let me ask you about that, because Karine Jean-Pierre, she took a jab at you, talking about crazy balls, crystal balls, magic 8 balls. I mean, they were treating you like a punchline at that moment. Do you feel you need to convince voters now that you're not?
I think more voters see through the fairy dust now. I do. The American people are worried about their own health care. The American people are worried about the fact that they can't send their kids to college. The American people are worried about living on less than $15 an hour, not being able to afford a home. They're worried about the fact that they don't have guaranteed wages, living wages, or sick pay. And they want to hear it from anybody who might have an answer. And if a woman such as myself is saying we could have universal health care like they do in every other advanced democracy, we could have free child care like in every other advanced democracy, we could have family and sick pay like in every other advanced democracy, we could have tuition-free college and tech school, we could have a guaranteed living wage like in every other advanced democracy. I think the American people would like to hear whoever is saying that, and are seeing through the way that the establishment wants to make sure that anybody suggesting such genuine fundamental economic reform is peripheralized and gotten off the stage.
So
I think people can see that now.
How do you pay for that, though?
How can you pay for that? Well, let's look at this right now. Our healthcare system is about 18.3% of our GDP. When you look at Germany, Canada, countries like that, it's 10, maybe 15. We're paying for it now so much. It's so interesting. Nobody said, how are we going to pay to make whole those depositors at SVB, although I think we should have. I'm just saying that we never ask that about certain things. We are paying for the lack of universal health care now with our lives. We have 68,000 people in this country who die every year, Kira, because they don't have health care. We have 18 million people in this country who can't afford to fulfill the prescriptions that their doctors give them. We're paying for it now. We have 500,000 people every year who go into medical debt. 1 in 4 Americans live with medical debt. It's the cost we're paying right now that is not only a cost to our bodies, it's a cost to our souls. It's part of the great economic anxiety and despair that people are living with. The cost that we're paying, the societal costs and the human costs that we're paying right now, that's what we can't afford.
But when you look at your platform with the universal health care, the tuition-free colleges, state colleges, universities, paternity and maternity leave, free child care, I mean, somebody has to pay for that. It transfers to the taxpayer.
Well, no,
Would you raise taxes?
First of all, the people who have the money in this country should pay fair taxes. In 2017, there was a $2 trillion tax cut in this country. 83 cents of every dollar went to the highest earners and the richest corporations. Now, there was also a middle-class tax cut there. That should be put back in, but the rest of that tax cut should be repealed. Plus, we should have a wealth tax. When you think of all the people in this country who make so much money that fair taxation, they wouldn't even notice it as they go about their day. And then you notice the 80% of Americans who live in a life of economic struggle year after year after year. Among other things, we then wonder where the mental health crisis comes from. You have 64% of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck. 60% of Americans for whom a $400 unexpected expenditure is too much for them to absorb. Why aren't we talking about them and the price that they're paying every single day for the unbelievable economic injustice that at this point is baked into the cake? Over the last 48 years, we have transferred $50 trillion from the bottom 90% to the top 1% of our earners. During the 1970s, we had a thriving middle class, and we don't anymore, and that's what we should be worried about.
Now, I said when I did my video about her announcing her new campaign that she was done in during the previous election cycle by factors that were for the most part out of her control. A lack of name recognition, and having several other progressive candidates running. So Sanders, Gabbard, to an extent Warren, and that this played a direct role in her not being able to coalesce as much support. This is something the interviewer leaves out. Now, when you get to the wonderful question of, but how do you pay for that though? They're concerned trolling. I think her response was pretty good. She was talking about, because my instinct is to say, cut the military budget. We spend hundreds of billions of dollars every year on it. It balloons each year, getting larger and larger. And I don't understand the justification to tell someone that when they want to increase or otherwise give people a program that is free, domestic, they should, cower and be afraid of higher taxes, but then be completely fine with paying for and increasing hundreds of billions of dollars that go and are involved in other countries and are used in ways that we can't account for. Now, her response was really nice about how we are already paying for it with all the people that don't have health insurance, or if they do, it's tied to their job, so they can't leave their job because if they leave it, they won't have any coverage. I really appreciate that she touched on the garbage of the private insurance, big pharma, just scammer system that we have, where the profit is put above the actual health of the people. That's why you look at something like insulin, where this medicine you can get for $20-$30 in other countries, it's going for $100+ in the US. And that's actually something that can be used to criticize both parties, because they try to pretend they care about people's health. That's why a lot of the Republicans right now are saying they won't cut Social Security or Medicare, despite having multiple proposals to do so. And Democrats have been guilty of that as well, to some extent or another. I also really enjoyed the part, because the thing is, TV interviews, especially when they're not the little short, brief 2-3 minute ones, can be very effective in terms of allowing a candidate to express themselves without any restrictions or editing involved. And I like that she mentioned the Trump tax cut, because one of the lines we would often say about that was 83% of the wealth went to the top 1%. So the majority of the people who received a tax cut were wealthy. And I like that she mentions, hey, the benefits of that went to regular working class people, I'm fine with keeping, but the rest of it should be repealed. And really, that's one of the biggest problems that, a lot of times people will say tax the rich, and people just don't understand that you can have, if rich people pay their share in taxes, whatever amount that people receive in taxes is going to be either nothing or very little compared to all of the expenses they pay in the for-profit system. I mean, if you compare a slight increase in taxes to premiums, deductibles, and copays for the for-profit healthcare system in America, or the thousands and thousands of dollars in tuition for these various schools, it's no comparison. I mean, that's why I said that a lot of the people, and I don't think the interviewer was being, she asked the same thing that you'll pretty much get from anywhere else that isn't sympathetic to the cause. But it really shows you that anytime someone is against single payer or free college, they either have two ways of responding to it. They red scare you, right? Oh, this is socialist. You're going to kick all... Remember what Klobuchar said? You're going to kick all these people off their health insurance, which is a really dumbed down, screwed up framing of that to suggest that people are going to lose coverage when they're actually going to be still receiving one just from the same as everyone else. Or they ask, how are you going to pay for it? And when they ask this, they always forget the hundreds of billions that we spend in the military budget. They always forget the fact that we have a tax system that is geared toward giving the richest people benefits. I mean, it's so disturbing that they really have nothing, like, in terms of their argumentation for why our for-profit system is somehow better than that of Canada and the UK and these other developed countries. and I do appreciate that she mentioned the fact that we're the only industrialized country that doesn't guarantee people health care. Because I said before that a lot of the politicians, both on the supposed left and right in the U.S. that are for having private insurance, do get off as far as are successfully able to manipulate uninformed voters into believing that we're proposing something that's extremely radical and unheard of, and they don't think it can work because it's this thing that's never been done before. But no, it's been done other places, just not here. And what does it say about us if every other country that's developed can have a program that everyone pays into and they all get to use for free, but then with us, you have to have insurance only if you work at a certain place, and if you don't, then it's up in the air. And that's something I'm really glad she mentioned. So this was a very productive interview. I'm excited for the future of this campaign, and I hope that she gets to appear on more networks like this. And I also should say, because I didn't make a video about the White House press secretary being dismissive towards her, but just as a hypothetical, like, let's be extremely optimistic here if you're a supporter of hers. Williamson wins the election next year, defeats Trump or DeSantis, whoever it is, and President Williamson is in office for 4 years, and maybe there's someone, it could be in my state of California, it could be in a red state like Texas, who is dissatisfied with the way that she has governed and wants to mount a primary challenge to her. That person should have the right to file the paperwork and make an effort to get their name on the ballots, and they should be given some TV coverage that actually allows them to define their positions and be seen by people who otherwise would be uninformed of them. Because as a democracy, we should give people the right to run against incumbents. You shouldn't just be given a free pass to have a chance at another term even when you have opposition within your own party, where everybody is just too scared or can't, or has like external factors against them that prevent them from actually being known by the general public. So I really hope that this primary does end up culminating in her debating Biden, because if that does end up happening, I think he will lose a lot of support.